We're already starting.
How's it go, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to another episode of Geeking Out, where we basically talk about everything nerd and geek related. Gonna be doing another episode on Was It Worth Making? And tonight we are all going to talk about the 2000 X-Men film distributed by Fox. It's been almost like I was talking to Jason earlier. It's been 21 years since that film came out.
I mean, some of my partners are younger than that.
I mean,
I'm younger than that.
I'm 20. I'm like, I was
Justin's
7 years
younger than
I
that.
was 7 years old when that film came out. So I mean, and that's, as I was telling Jason earlier, and I'm sure this will be a shock to you. That's actually how I first found out about X-Men. Was that movie?
What? That is absurd. That's the first time you ever saw an X-Men on screen.
I was so I saw it twice in the theaters. I saw it opening night in my hometown movie theater. I was about to graduate from high school. And then when I went to college, it was playing at the theater that I could get to by bus because I was a poor college student. And I saw it again. I think I saw it no, I only saw it the two times. I was in / high school, college at the time. I hate all of you for being much younger than that.
No, I was 16. I was working at PacSun when that movie came out.
I was
I'm
16.
young here.
I was
young.
16.
Wait, what year did it come out? Can you
2000.
remind me?
2000. It came out
2000.
in May of
Okay,
2000.
I was
in high school.
I
was
like I said, I
definitely
was
in
in
college.
elementary school when that film came out.
Oh,
Oh my
I'm a
god,
baby.
baby! Hi,
And
baby.
the first time I actually ever saw it, my mom bought the DVD where it had the first disc was a movie, and then the second disc was the special features.
Oh, so it wasn't even in
Bonus
theaters. You saw it on
You
DVD.
did-
Yeah.
Oh my god, is Amanda leaving? I was like, you didn't even see it in theaters. She's gone.
Well, I was young. I was young at the time, you know. This is like
I was saying,
I was
I-
slowly transitioning into learning about more Marvel stuff because the first time I ever heard of anything Marvel was the Spider-Man animated TV series and the Fantastic Four series back in the 90s.
okay.
So that's how I got it. That's how I got into Marvel because I was like, you know, slowly learn. I was slowly learning about comic books and movies and everything in that. Demanda with her resting bitch face.
Oh. Wow.
You can't tell she's really happy.
So
That's
I was
happy
gonna
to be-
say when the trailer came out, it was probably one of the only times in my life when I was in like a lull of my X-Men love. Like I just kind of faded away. I hadn't restarted collecting figures yet. I didn't restart like rereading. And I remember just thinking very casually, oh, I used to love this so much as a kid. I'll go watch it. Like, but it was kind of this like, man, okay, just any other movie. I guarantee, like if it came out like now, like at peak X-Men fandom, I would be losing my mind like at every single second of that movie.
So
But if it came out
Also-
now, we wouldn't have gotten Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Oh, that's true.
Okay.
That was like the best thing to come out of those movies was Hugh Jackman.
Okay.
and Wolverine.
Well,
so again, the internet was a young wee baby
Yep.
when this movie was coming out. And so like I was like scrounging for like any and all information that I could,
Entertainment Weekly.
because I was a full freaking adult and could actually access a computer. And I was trying to get any and all information that I could possibly
With your
get out of
AOL
this movie.
floppy disk.
First of all,
Dial up,
trial?
waiting for
Yes,
waiting for
my
someone to get
free-
off the phone to get on the internet.
yeah, don't make a call.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
listen, I grew up with 3 brothers and 2 parents, and my dad hated the internet and did not want us on there without being like a necessary thing. So I would have to like hurry and be like, okay, yeah, I'm doing schoolwork.
While you're secretly
Find
trying to look
out
up
about
information about the
Research.
X-Men film, researching
Yeah,
X-Men.
I was trying to find out any information, and I remember reading like the first article that I read about the X-Men movie was finding out that Doug Ray Scott was originally cast, and that because of
Wait,
Mission
who?
Impossible 2 and he was injured, that they had last minute recast this musical actor from Australia named Hugh Jackman. And I was like, musicals? I like musicals. Like, that sounds great.
he does a really good American accent. I remember watching the special features when when they were doing like a testing of how him and Rogue met for the first time. It was so weird seeing this girl who played in Fly Away Home playing in something, you know, people weren't expecting to be so big at the time.
And she was in She's All That.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop you right there. The girl who's in Fly Away Home. Do you mean Oscar winner Anna Paquin from The Piano?
Piano.
Yeah.
The youngest Oscar winner. Like,
and
Sorry,
we
Little Miss
dodged a
Sunshine.
bullet.
I am
Yeah.
watching the Oscars, watching Anna Paquin win. Like,
No,
that's
I
old.
remember that. And guys, we almost had Rachel Lee Cook cast as
Right.
Really?
but production couldn't afford her. Production couldn't afford Rachel Lee
He
Cook.
regrets
so
it a
that's-
lot.
She was on that She's All That money.
Spoilers.
Wow.
Ain't gonna last.
That's crazy. But yeah, I guess while we're talking about that, what did you think of the cast that they had for X-Men? Like the main characters, in my opinion, I like I said, Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart, I think make a good Wolverine and Charles Xavier, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They were perfect. Those two were perfect.
So I remember thinking, because I will agree with those two. I think most people will agree. It's the perfect, at the time.
Oh, and
the perfect
and
role.
Ian McKellen as Eric Lecture.
But that's my thing. I want to start there. I remember when they showed him on screen, and I'm used to like the Jim Lee kind of like yoked, super big Magneto or the
Magneto.
cartoon character. I was like, why is it was so confusing. I was like, why is
So old.
Magneto
Why
an
is
old man?
He's
Why
so
is
much
he so
older.
old?
Frail man, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because he survived the Holocaust.
And that makes, it
Hello.
makes sense. But to me, there was such weird cast. And he's brilliant now, but like he's brilliant in retrospect. But like at the beginning, I was like, why isn't he some giant bodybuilder with just gray hair? Like, so I was
Like how he was in the animated series.
exactly
How he
Yeah.
I remember in the animated series, he looked like he kind of like had a white mullet.
Yep.
God.
No, he could have a white
because
bullet.
he did not go through Moira McTaggart's like rejuvenation process. You know, whatever.
Well, when he became a baby,
hashtag
yeah.
Comics, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Thing. So my biggest thing, I remember, and I'm sure Paul can also relate because he used to work there, but like the Wizard fan cast of like the mid 90s that came out. And
Oh, yeah.
to me, so like Amon was always like, oh yeah, she would obviously be perfect as Storm, but as the years went on, obviously she quote aged out. I'm still mad that we did not get Angela Bassett
Oh, agreed.
as Storm.
As
And the thing is, I can understand why she wasn't cast because at the time, obviously Angela Bassett, Angela Bassett coming off of What's Love Got to Do with It and an Oscar nomination and all this stuff, like obviously she was going to be a little more expensive, and they already had Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart and Anna Paquin and all of that stuff. And little did we know that Halle Berry would eventually win an Oscar. But like, so it's like I get it. She was probably just like too big of a name to get at the time, but like Halle Berry, God bless her. Like she tried.
I agree.
I was, and the thing is that she was obviously cast for her look, and I'm not mad at Halle Berry for like trying to like make it work. And I don't have it with me because obviously I am somewhere else and not at my own house. But I have a full PowerPoint presentation about Halle Berry's wigs in the X-Men franchise in general, and how terrible it is, and why you don't hire white people to do black hair. Previously to X-Men, Halle Berry was in a movie called Baps, which was obviously very African American and black heavy as far as like the influence and the people that they hired to be on that film. The woman who did that movie and made a lot of the wigs for that film, eventually, like she worked so much with a lot of black creators. Eventually, like she's the one who did like Beyonce's hair for all of her Lemonade era, and is just like this prolific, amazing hair designer. There were, and I'm paraphrasing here, so don't anyone come for me, but I think it was 14 people who worked on hair for the movie Baps. If you've seen the movie Baps, you know that the budget was not that big. The movie was actually fairly terrible, but 14 people working on hair. This movie, 2 people are credited with hair, one of which is a white woman who worked on Austin Powers previously, and eventually her speciality is men's hair and did a lot for Hugh Jackman like throughout his career. So like that was obviously like her thing. So she's like, I'm gonna go work on Hugh Jackman. Here's the shake and go wig from Party City, Hallie. Just like make that work.
You know, it's
So,
funny that you
like-
mentioned that. Sorry.
Demanda
okay,
stuff.
go
This is some
ahead.
hot
I'm
takes.
done.
Hot takes from Demanda. I love it.
Don't.
About the wig, and I was watching the movie, you know, when she's about to throw Toad into the, you know,
Hudson River.
the Hudson
Joss
River.
Whedon's worst work.
Oh.
Ouch. I've noticed when the wind is blowing, I actually saw the lace front wig line.
Mm.
So no,
I
that was
cannot-
not.
I cannot
lace
watch-
front. That was
I cannot
not lace
watch
front.
Storm.
That wasn't lace front.
No, that
No.
wig is fully just you. What you saw was like the underneath wig. So like
Yeah.
this is lace front
Uh-huh.
because you can see where the hairs look like they're going into my head. That
Right.
wig with the bangs, that was not a lace front wig.
I
That was
literally
fully
in my
just
head,
like-
I cannot watch Storm in that movie without imagining a comb in my hand, and I just kind of want to constantly comb her bangs.
I do too.
So sloppy.
Again.
Mm.
So that her hair is so terrible throughout the X-Men franchise. It wasn't until Days
I
of
liked it
Future
in 3.
Past where
I liked it in 3.
I like
With
the
the
low
dark
lights of
green.
3.
The dark roots and the little bob. It was good.
Storm should not have dark roots.
I know it
Storm
doesn't
should
make any
never
sense.
have
but
dark roots.
But her hair got better in Days of Futures Past. The spiked hair.
So
Ooh,
it was
yeah.
better. It still should have been completely white. And because Halle Berry, who like obviously prefers short hair on herself, that hair that she had in Days of Future Past should have just been her hair. Like 100%, that just should have been her hair from the get-go. Just because it obviously looks amazing on Halle Berry. And just
they got it much better with Alexandra Shipp. Just her natural curls. Give her a mohawk. It looked
Mhm.
really good on screen.
Oh yeah, she looked hot.
She looks
like
hot.
Ugh.
so frustrated that again and I mean this was 21 years ago 22 years ago when they were making this movie, that it's just like no one thought to be like, hey, maybe we should ask a Black person how we should do Hallie's hair. And Halle probably at the time was like, I don't have enough like pull or power or clout to be like, I want to. It wasn't until the second movie when she had won her Oscar that she was like, yeah, I need better hair. And I need I need more to do in this movie.
I
Was
mean,
X-Men 1 before or after Swordfish?
It was before.
So it's funny that Hugh Jackman and
Mm-hmm.
Halle Berry were together again for that movie, but I guess it was because of X-Men that they saw that chemistry.
So a lot of the marketing was because Hugh Jackman from X-Men, Halle Berry from X-Men.
Okay.
On the subject of Storm, I spoke with the Leewalds last year, and the Leewalds being the creators of the X-Men animated series, and they actually had a first pass at the script. They were asked to come in and look at the script, and the one thing they noted was that Storm had absolutely nothing to do.
Nothing to do.
And
wait,
it
what do you mean?
seems-
What do you mean nothing to do?
Nothing to do. Exactly what you
She
just saw in the
didn't do-
movie.
Like
Yeah.
if you took her out of the movie, her character
Didn't
got
really-
she had no arc, like nothing.
And
She-
what her
she
and her
lit-
what and her
like-
name in the movie is Aurora Monroe, right?
Yeah, always.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
okay.
it
So
left.
let me jump on that, Paul, because if you think about the very first episode of X-Men the Animated Series, and you think about Rogue being the stand-in for Jubilee,
Mhm.
that moment when she has that conversation with Jubilee and says, "This is who we are. This is why we're here. We're all different," and it's like this magical 5 minutes of like Storm motherhood and Storm empathy, and like that should have been the connection with Rogue. Like, I'm a woman, you're a woman. We're different. We're new to this world. Like, they didn't touch on anything like that.
Well, and even in later movies, and I know we're just talking about X1, but the rapport between Jean and Storm. Like,
Mhm.
Storm doesn't look at Hugh Jackman and it's like, why do you want to save her? Because you love her. Like, no, Storm wants to save Jean as well because that's her sister. They have this camaraderie. And I don't know why in both Dark Phoenix movies, they always kind of made Storm like pro killing Jean instead of being like the grounding force, you know, because even Alexandra Shipp in the Dark Phoenix says sometimes people lie about who they are. And you're like, Storm would never. Storm would
Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
Because they
Let
don't
me-
know what to do with Storm, which is
Yeah,
so
I'll tell you.
frustrating.
One single redeeming line of dialogue, one single redeeming Halle Berry moment was in
Do you
I think it
know
was in
what happens
3.
to a toad when it gets hit by lightning?
No.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
Come on. I would not. Can you
Oh,
imagine if I said that? Can you
Same thing-
imagine if I
and-
said
Oh my
and
God, Amanda left.
and her response.
Amanda's left the chat.
To
Amanda's
after
like,
that,
I'm
It
done.
is-
the same thing that happens to everything else.
Stop it. Stop it right now. Is
All right,
when
Gage.
is when they're talking about the cure and she jumps in and she says, "We don't need a cure. There's nothing wrong with us."
Absolutely.
She says it with such ferocity and
Mhm.
such like assertiveness. I was like, "Fuck yeah, there's nothing wrong
So,
with this." I don't know if I can
again,
swear, but like I was like
know that we're
living for that
technically
moment.
talking. I know that we're technically talking about X1.
Right.
However, so Storm gets to say that as a fucking supermodel, like is who does
Yes.
not kill people when she touches them.
It's privilege.
It's all I
It's-
have to say
it's
on that
privilege.
matter.
It's
Like,
such privilege.
yes, like her anger is very she's right. It's like there is nothing wrong with any of us, but it's
Right.
also
That
like
matter.
that's still coming from a place of like I also am fucking stunning.
Can't argue with that.
It's
And-
beauty privilege, but that's also what makes that line so impactful because it's like it actually brings up that talk in the same exact moment. It's like, of course you can say that, Storm, but it's also real. Like there's so much
Yeah.
depth to that line of dialogue. That's why I love it too.
So
Oh,
Did-
I'm sorry.
I'm
Like
sorry,
when she
I'm
said that
sorry.
too. No, sorry. Go. I was just quoting her when she was doing the storm after that.
Oh.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Oh, jeez.
Not just like-
So I want to go back to one of the characters I feel like we didn't really get to see a whole lot of. Sabretooth.
Oh,
Now,
I actually really liked Tyler Mane
Now-
in the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't
now are
mind him.
they? Because I know in X-Men Origins Wolverine, they're brothers. It's never show. And are they brothers in the
No.
comics?
They are not brothers.
No,
Okay,
they're
No,
not.
so that
who
was
made that
just
up?
Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, that
We'll talk about that movie.
that
friends,
clarifies that
Yeah.
question.
Careful,
I
Michelle's
looked
gonna
it
go
up,
Dark
we don't
Phoenix.
talk about it.
So
Not talk about that.
the only thing
what
is,
were
this-
your
why
thoughts?
what was
What
the
were your
choice on his
thoughts
eyebrows?
on
That's what I wanna talk
Sabretooth
about.
from the X-Men 1 film? Was he comic book accurate, sort of?
I mean, he was more like X-Men Evolutions accurate. He was
Yeah.
not like
That's fair.
like he was fine for the movie. Like I like watching it and like the fact that they tried to like make those like subtle connections to be like when we do a sequel, we'll touch on this later that Sabretooth and Wolverine are like because like there's the whole like he gets his dog tags and all of that stuff and there's like those subtle hints that like they know each other but obviously Wolverine doesn't remember. Like it's like they were trying for something but they didn't know. So trying to remember back in 2000 when the only successful comic book movie that had happened was Blade. They didn't know whether or not this was going to be a thing or if they were going to be able to make a sequel. So like it's like they laid hints, but it was like we don't know if this is going to happen. So we're just going to hope for the best.
Well,
Again,
this mo-
Tyler Mane was fine. I didn't mind his look. His look was fine. It was not great. I would have preferred him to not just look like a mountain man. I would prefer him to actually look like an actual like contract killer. But he was all right. He was fine.
I think Tyler Mane looked absolutely wonderful, and he will be on Power of X-Men in a couple of weeks with his earlings. Hopefully,
Nice.
we're figuring out scheduling. So he was
What a
perfect.
plug.
That'd be pretty cool.
I know. Look at that. Look at that plug right there.
Love it.
Oh man, I
But-
remember like watching the special features on how the makeup process you went through with the prosthetic claws and then the wig and then the facial hair and everything.
Yeah, I think they did the best that they could to like really make him look
at the
like
time.
savage. Yeah, but still like realistic because it wasn't like bright or calm. You know how the comic in the 90s was very like over exaggerated or like bright. And here they toned it down a little bit and made him like more like beastly. So it was not the worst take.
No,
On Sabretooth.
I will
Okay,
say
remind me again because I know somebody knows this. the leather costumes, was that taken from the new X-Men run, or was it the other way around?
The
Who
other way
invented the
around.
leather costumes first?
Yeah. They were going through Revolution in 2000 or Operation Zero Tolerance.
I still find
somewhere
it
around
funny how Cyclops told Wolverine, "Do you prefer yellow spandex?" I feel like that's a nod to
Well, of course
Wolverine's
it is.
original outfit.
It's a cute moment, yeah.
That was
So speaking of Cyclops, James Marsden, in my opinion, can never do any wrong and can just put his body weight on top of me. I love James Marsden.
Now that I know that there were only 2 hair people, and one of them was men's hairstylist, James Marsden's hair looks absolutely wonderful in this movie. The men are groomed to the nines in this movie.
Because
all the
that's
men's
all he
hair.
knew how to
Yeah.
do.
I mean, listen, and I love Jean. I think Famke is a perfect Jean. We haven't talked about Famke yet. Sacrilegious. But those crispy bangs of hers, oh, I'm like, Famke.
But listen, okay, so if we're switching to Jean, I think,
It's always about Jean.
I don't always say the nicest things about Jean, but she is a goddess. Famke is a goddess in this movie. She is the perfect woman. She's intelligent. She's beautiful. She's delicate. Like they gave
She's
her
a doctor.
everything.
I
She
know.
replaces She
She
replaces
looks like
Beast.
Linda Evangelista. No,
Even from like
Okay, your guys'
from, like,
screen,
watching
your
the
guys'
movie 20
all
years
your
ago.
screens froze for like a hot minute.
oh, we're good. We're good.
Are we better
Your
now?
internet connection is unstable. No, it's not.
sometimes if you're in gallery mode and then you switch to like single mode and then back to gallery mode, it unfreezes.
I think we're all stable on this call right now talking about Famke,
I'm
okay? And her
completely
bangs.
So actually,
And please
brings
send me
up
this clip of Nerd Alert saying all those beautiful things about her. I'm gonna post it all over the internet.
well, I don't know if it'll let me.
Talk about
Because
Jean.
I don't know if it'll. Well, because like I said, it was like it paused. It like all your screens froze. So I'm not sure what you talked about Famke. I know you called her a goddess and everything.
You didn't get it?
So can you mind
Say it
do you
again.
mind going
Say it
say it
Jason,
again?
take it from the top. Let's hear it again, Jason.
Start from the beginning. Do it again.
What were you saying about
I
Jean?
will say what you want about Jean Grey whenever you want. I think in this movie they captured goddess mode Jean Grey. She is perfect. She is flawless. She is caring. She is like empathetic. She's just this amazing angel of a human being. And I think they got that across really, really well.
I agree.
And
I
then
just
what
wanna
I was gonna
record
add
this
to that,
and send it to
I
you.
did not care for the hair color. Now, I will excuse it because as someone who did a lot of hair dyeing throughout the 90s and into the 2000s, that like burgundy, reddish, purpley color that they had in that first movie was extremely popular. So I remember visiting France in 1996, and like that was like the hair color that every single girl had on the street. And then that eventually came over to America, and then I had that hair color in 2000. So
God,
like
you must have looked
everyone had
immaculate.
that hair color. I have that hair color in my suitcase right now because I'm doing a tarot number.
Now, was that Famke's natural hair?
No.
No,
Definitely
what kind
No.
of no?
Nobody
it a wig?
naturally had that.
That is not a color that appears in nature. It's,
But it was her natural. I mean,
what I meant
it wasn't
was
a wig.
Was it a
I'm
wig?
sorry,
or-
Wayne.
Was it a wig
no,
or did
no,
they dye it?
no. They dyed her hair.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
That
Those
wasn't a wig.
those bangs are too crispy to be synthetic.
So that hair color, it's like I understand what they were doing. So it's like they're trying to be like current with fashions and not make it quote unrealistic with like, you know, we're used to like the you know, like for example, the color that me and Michelle typically wear when we do Jean, which is like that Crayola red.
Yeah, not this.
Although I love Michelle's wig tonight.
It's the perfect color. I love it.
That's
Yeah.
not a wig, that's her hair.
It's very complicated right now.
So one of the
But
characters I want to.
that's the one thing I just did not like the color that they chose. Like I understand what they were doing, but it's just like no woman who's a natural redhead like Jean Grey should be would ever dye over their hair with that color.
I agree. Wayne's like, I had no idea we were going to talk about hair so much.
I knew we were going to talk about
I got
The
no
wrong
complaints. I
crew,
have
then.
to agree with Amanda because when I was watching X-Men, looking at Storm's wig, I mean Halle Berry's wig, at least I mean they did. I mean, they could have gone with her hair in the comic books. That was all big and wavy. Like,
It might work better. I don't know.
They bought the first white wig that they could find and go, Hallie, make this work with your shenanigans.
They went to Spirit Halloween and they're like, here you go, girl.
Wait, can
They cut the bangs in the bathroom.
There is.
They did.
They just like, and then they were just
It was
like,
some PA.
hey, we're gonna recreate these bangs on Courtney Cox and Scream 3.
Oh my God! They took that wig and dyed it black and gave it to her.
Just awful. So. Okay, so moving on.
But wait, I want to say one final thing about Storm.
Okay.
Because I don't think there's much to say about Storm. I think Halle Berry, for as little as she was given, had a tremendous screen presence. And that scene where after Rogue takes away Logan's powers through that nightmare, and she turns, like Rogue turns and looks at Storm, she looked immaculate. Halle Berry looked like a goddess. I was like, she has the presence.
Listen, that's because she's Halle Berry and she always looks flawless. Like, she just does.
That's it. I just want to give her credit because in the past, when I was growing up, I was like, oh my God, she's ruining Storm. Now, as an adult, I get it. They didn't give her much to work with. And they didn't give her
anything to do. So she's like, well, I know what I can do, which is look fucking stunning.
Yeah.
So,
and like my wig can look good in like blowing in the breeze.
But don't mess it up because I have to give it to Courtney Cox for
so the next thing I want to bring up, the plot to the movie. What were your thoughts on the plot? How Magneto was basically wanted to make every human on Ellis Island a mutant.
So it was full cheesy like Saturday morning cartoon nonsense. And honestly, I was like, valid. I get it. It's fine.
I thought it was profound.
We're trying to make this into a movie franchise. Like, obviously that's a harebrained scheme that Magneto would have done in 1965. Like, I get it. Like, it's so it was high camp, which also you don't cast Ian McKellen and not give him the campiest shit to do. Like, I mean, obviously. It was fine. Was it stupid? Absolutely. It was really dumb. And obviously if an X-Men movie were to be made today in like the MCU fashion, that would not have been
it would have been like Loki level something.
Yeah. But wait, I want to give credit for it.
Murdering everyone in New York City is what it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give credit for it though, because I get it. I understand it is very campy and over the top, but I think the movie took it seriously, and that's something I appreciate it. And I think it operated on the metaphor, which is if those in power are the ones who are different, there will be a seismic shift in government and society, and that's Magneto wanting to reshape society. Xavier wants to be accepted. So I was okay with it. I agree. It is an over-the-top, campy, would not work today plot, but I was pleasantly surprised at how serious the movie took that plot and didn't make it too hokey.
He was basically trying to create everyone in his own image in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's egotistical, it's ideological, and then it's cowardly because he's passing it along to Rogue.
Yeah, and it's not till later in the film that he's like, oh, it's Rogue he wants, not Wolverine.
Yeah. I don't think Magneto would have necessarily sacrificed another mutant to like prove his point that way. You know, I thought that was kind of like not really on character. And they had so much source material to pull from that I'm like, why did they show us this?
Well, yeah, why did they make up some nonsense?
Yeah.
Why not do Asteroid?
But I will say it did give us the extremely brilliantly delivered line in X2 when Magneto and Mystique are totally kikiing and they go, we love what you've done with your hair. Like that, I'm like, this fucking old queen and his fag hag just laughing hysterically at like this bitch. And it's like, y'all did it to her. Like, I don't know why y'all.
So yeah, that actually brings my next question. So, and someone tell me please, with him transferring powers, like, how did she get, like, what made her have the white hair?
Who the heck knows?
Bryan Singer does
Drink
this in
more.
all the
That was a
movies.
gimmick.
Question less.
Like,
Yeah.
no, but like this is a serious problem that comes back in Apocalypse, where like Apocalypse just gives everyone a new hairstyle.
And a
Like,
makeover and tattoos.
Except for Psylocke. The only thing she does is she's like, and my tits are out. That's all she did. She doesn't get a glamorous makeover. She's like, oh, now I get a boob window. Cool.
I don't know what
He was like, he's like, Psylocke, put on a bikini. We're going to Auschwitz to do some really serious scene. So get on a bikini.
Exactly. That's he's like, I'm gonna take you to Auschwitz. Get your tits out. Like that's all that happens in Apocalypse.
So
Poor Betsy.
so some of the side characters, I noticed we see
talk about Mystique, though. Can we talk about
thank
Mystique?
you. Yes, Mystique.
There's lots to talk about Mystique. I will start off.
Yes.
So first things, out of all the people who had to go through a lot of makeup and prosthetics, Rebecca Romaine probably went through the most, because I remember in the special features,
8 hours.
she was talking how the makeup felt like the silicone spiders you throw against the wall.
Yes.
Oh.
I
Also,
still remember that quote.
The
And I haven't
first
seen the
glue
features
they
in, like,
used
decades.
was toxic, and it made her sick. It seeped in her skin and made her sick, and they had to change the.
I
type of
can
glue
I can see why Jennifer Garner later on would want to go with that different
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence.
First of all,
Oh.
Jennifer
Downgrade.
Lawrence.
It was a downgrade from Garner.
I'm gonna say it again, and I stole it from Twitter, so I don't care. Miss Rebecca Romaine did not slide backwards on her pussy, covered in fucking silicone, for Jennifer fucking Lawrence to go, ugh, this is hard. I don't want to wear it. Like, get over yourself.
True.
Like,
True.
I mean,
So no, listen, she was such a champ, but she did it every single day. And don't tell me that, like, if you're a big star, you don't want to do makeup, because Oscar Isaac was doing that makeup every single day as well. So like, you can buck up and do it too.
so the
Come on,
thing is,
J-Lo.
so Rebecca Romaine, so not only did she have like the 8-hour process of like literally gluing shit on her nipples,
not to mention the slick back orange wig she wore too,
and,
which
you know,
I have
and
to
the wig
say
and all that stuff.
was
And-
impressive.
And in the first movie, they made her wear contacts that actually made her blind. She
Oh.
couldn't.
I
she,
didn't
like,
I didn't know that.
So the yellow contacts that they gave her covered her entire eye, and she was just like, "Yeah, I fucking can't." I'm sorry, I'm swearing too much.
It's okay. We're all adults here.
Fuck Amanda.
But she was like,
fuck?
I can't see. You guys have to like walk me around.
Yeah.
And then it was in the second movie that, because they got the extra budget, because the first movie was so successful, that they just started digitally doing her eyes.
Yeah.
Like what
But
they
also-
like what they
We don't
what they
remember
did to,
now, 'cause-
like what they did to when Mystique was disguised as Bobby when you saw the eyes glowing.
Yeah.
We don't think about it now, but that was the most dramatic and extreme character change visually. Like, she was a blue woman in a white dress, and they turned her into like a reptile. So I like applaud their boldness, because it lasted through all.
Gave her like a chameleon like quality.
Yeah.
Well,
She
and-
was stunning in that
She
too.
had
Like,
such a
oh my
presence.
gosh.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is the helicopter scene, when her theme music kicks in and she has this
Right.
so
I
crazy-
Her theme
was
music's the
hoping I was
best.
hoping someone
The
would bring that
violin.
up.
Yeah.
Especially when she like does that weird foot kick thing to Senator
Like,
Kelly, and then wraps
she's-
her feet around
all legs.
his head.
Yes.
Like I remember when I first saw it when I saw it on DVD a third or second time, I actually had to like pause it and slowly fast forward just to
Yeah.
see that transition and how they did that for 2000 CGI. That
Yeah.
scene right there was impressive,
amazing.
It was great.
and
She
the
was
music
bitch
made it,
slapping
and the
with
music
her
and the
feet.
music made it even better.
Yes.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
a beautiful
100%.
score.
So,
And in the comic books, in the X-Men Forever miniseries, not the one that Chris Claremont did, but the first one written by Fabian and Jason, I loved it. But in it, Mystique is supposed to permanently transform into that reptile form, and that is her base template in the 616. We've never seen it again. Don't get me wrong; it's
Oh,
never
okay.
been mentioned again.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's funny how popular that look was, that they try to make it a thing in the comics.
now
Yeah.
in this movie with Mystique, in the comics, was she ever full blown naked like she was in the movie, or is this just something they added for shock value?
Yeah.
I
don't
don't know
what
if
the
it was-
reason
It was just for the
was,
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because
I don't know what the reason was.
because
either.
I just can't imagine how
Because
Rebecca
they cast
Romaine felt
Rebecca Romaine.
basically.
Yeah, they cast a supermodel. I mean,
I didn't know
you
she was a supermodel.
She was.
Rebecca Romaine?
Yeah.
What? Rebecca Romaine Stamos, who was married to John Stamos.
Oh,
So Rebecca Romaine and Halle Berry both started off as models.
okay. Halle Berry, I knew was a modle. I didn't know about
It
Rebecca
wasn't
Romaine.
Famke. Famke was a model too, wasn't she?
I'm sure.
Yeah, do you know what? You're right, because her first movie was Gold Member, or not Gold Member,
Yeah.
Gold
Goldeneye.
Golden.
Oh,
In 1990
that's
in
right.
19
Xena Onatopp.
in 1997.
She was like, oh my god, she was one of the best.
She could kill people with her eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can't we all?
Okay, so I have to. So I'm kind of curious. I'm not sure if it was in the movie. It was ad-libbed, or it was scripted. But when Scott wants Wolverine to prove himself, and Wolverine says, "You're a dick."
Hey, it's me. Prove it. You're a dick. Okay.
I'm kind of curious if that's something that Hugh Jackman added in.
I love that.
I feel like something like that had to be ad-libbed because there's no way.
Isn't that the rumor though? I don't know.
There's no way that something like that can be scripted, because I'm just like, just.
It was so perfect.
Cyclops' reaction, and I think Jean Grey's actress, you can kind of see her smirking and laughing.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that was ad-libbed.
Sometimes one line of dialogue can build so much character development, and that was one of them. It's just like it says so much about everyone involved in that scene. Like that was good writing.
I'm just every time I see that scene, it makes me laugh. Like there's just it has to be ad-libbed, because I mean one is Hugh Jackman, and two, I feel like the movie needed some kind of humor.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the other characters I want to talk about, they're not really shown. They're probably shown twice. Is Kitty Pryde. Thoughts?
I mean, was it Kitty Pryde?
Well, I mean, Xavier did say Kitty.
He did call her Kitty.
But she's wearing her Pride of the X-Men look, the blue sweater.
Yeah, like it is Kitty, and then they recast her 4 more times.
Yeah, in the sequel, in the sequel, I know again, I know we're not really talking about the others, but she's like a little girl, and then she gets aged up again in the third one. So it's like she's an old girl with short hair, little girl with long hair, and then an older girl with.
Yeah,
I know X-Men movies are kind of known
Same
for.
thing with Jubilee. Jubilee was 4 different.
Wasn't that other girl that Rogue was talking to? Because there was a deleted scene where there was actual dialogue. That girl with the yellow jacket, that was Jubilee.
That's Jubilee. Jubilee. And that scene where we first see Kitty go through when Wolverine walks into the classroom, you have Iceman, you have Danny Moonstar, you have Jubilee, and you have Kitty in there.
I didn't know.
Oh, and Pyro.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Before
Pyro was different too. I didn't realize to watch.
Yeah.
Well, Pyro is a huge scandal. That's what's his name, Alex Burton, and he eventually sued Bryan Singer's like associates for like drugging him, and then he like disappeared. And then Bryan Singer released this dicky statement saying like we needed a real seasoned actor. I'm paraphrasing it to play Pyro in the next movie, and it would make sense that we would go with Aaron Stanford. So what happened to that actor? It's pretty awful.
The shenanigans of Bryan Singer are notorious and ridiculous, and
Bryan Singer is gross.
Yeah,
like end of story. Bryan Singer is gross.
Yeah.
I guess some other. I know JT's been quiet here. What were your thoughts on the X-Men film when you first heard about it?
When I first heard about it, I was like, yeah, it's cool. I was the same thing as Jason. I was kind of in a lull. I was in college at the time, so X-Men wasn't really my priority. But I heard of it and I remembered. I was like, oh yeah, I used to love X-Men as a kid. Like this might be cool to watch. Saw it in the theater and I was like,
You were underwhelmed?
I was very underwhelmed.
But do you think, were you expecting it to do so well? Like it got like a bunch of sequels and prequels shortly after.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to do as well as it did, but for what they had, they did all right.
Yeah, I would echo that. Like they did all right.
All right.
Yeah.
I think I walked out of the third film. I was like, I can't even take.
Oh, Last Stand.
Yeah, it was so bad.
I mean,
really, I liked Last Stand a lot, and I love the final fight of Last Stand a lot. Like,
but you don't like Jean Grey, so that's probably why you liked it.
I've been waiting.
Someone's Dark Phoenix tonight.
Wait. Paul, because I have a very burning question for you, and I'm putting you on the spot super hard right here.
Go for it. Wait, I'm ready.
You ready?
Let me adjust my lighting.
Really be ready for this because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. You will die on the cross making fun of Beast for having an invented doctorate.
Yes,
however,
absolutely.
In this movie, I believe they say Dr. Jean Grey.
Oh, they do.
Where did she get her doctorate from out of nowhere? And why? And
I
why
thought
doesn't this bother you? Why doesn't it bother you as much?
It's in my notes. I'm like, where did Jean get her doctorate from?
Yeah, because
we got the prequels.
Doesn't Senator Kelly say he needs to see Dr. Jean Grey or something?
Yeah.
She's
Dr. Jean Grey.
Listen, we never got her backstory. Fine. In the comic books, how many times we saw him graduate from high school and then all of a sudden he's a doctor? Like, that's a completely different. He's been around for like 30 years. Movie Jean Grey has only been in like 3 movies. Okay. So like there and seeing as how
four movies
well.
technically, if you consider Days of Futures Past when she's brought back.
Well, and then we see, obviously, she dies in Dark Phoenix. I know that's like a new timeline, but like, listen, Jason, you know what? Fair. Like, sometime between being dead in the cosmos and coming back in Days of Future Past, she got a doctorate degree.
Okay. Yeah, she had all that free time.
She got it online at Phoenix University.
So I gotta ask. I know in the X-Men, the first X-Men film, it kind of shows how Logan is like wants to be romantically involved with Jean Grey. Was that ever a thing in the comics?
But not to the extent. In the comics, Jean never entertained the idea of ever being with Logan. She was with Scott, married Scott, was so committed. And only in the movies was she very flirty, very kind of loose with her commitment to Scott. And I think the comics absorbed that afterwards and kind of made her more kind of fighty.
So right after the movie came out, when Morrison took over the X-Men, like right after the movie, and they did, they adopted the black leather and all that stuff, and that's what really, like, in my opinion, cemented the Jean Logan relationship, because like Scott was already like leaving Jean and like, oh, Apocalypse took over my brain, I don't know what to do. And it's like, Jean literally has been taken over by everyone and she's so fucking cool. So Scott, get it together. But like, Scott was like having his like whatever issues, and then he got together with Emma, which also was a far better relationship for Scott, so I don't blame him.
I agree. I'm Team Scott and Emma.
But then Jean was like, yeah, so Scott is like doing this whole thing and discovering himself and whatever. So she's like, so Logan, are you still into me? Because like this could happen. We're in space. We're gonna die. Let's see what this does.
Like and even at the beginning of New X-Men, she goes like, my power's coming back. It's like a muscle I've never used. And Logan, she goes to kiss Logan, and Logan's like, we know the deal. It will never work, and walks away from her. Like, ouch.
No, there's another incident. Like, I remember she's wearing her X Factor uniform, and like there's like her and Wolverine are in this other, I don't know the full story, but I know like he definitely kisses her and she's into it. So I think there were
from Extinction Agenda.
That's an Inferno.
Is it Inferno?
Inferno.
Yeah, the big kiss where he has to tell if it's her.
Yes, and that's how he tells that she's the real Jean and not some like weird demon, whatever hallucination. And she's like, yeah, that was like cool, but like not cool, because like I just came back to life and I'm not sure what that's about.
So,
and also I'm just gonna come to this random.
She was like, cool, thanks, Logan. I'm gonna go back over here now. Like, and then it was just kind of like.
Also, up until that point, I know it was retcon in X-Men Classic, but like he just pats her on the back and is like, just gotta kiss you, and literally kisses her in front of everyone. Like, it's weird. Cool. Yeah, cool. But there was also another one in Extinction Agenda. I'm forgetting the context. It's where she's on top of him and he's like shirtless and he's holding her and kissing her. You've seen it on like the Fleer Ultra cards and everything.
Yeah, the cover.
On the cover and everything.
I'd have to look through Extinction. So, and and then there's like him kind of flirting with her in like X-Men #1. But Gambit does too.
Yeah. Well, Gambit kisses like the robot.
Yeah.
Right here. But yeah. Do you see that, Amanda?
Anyway,
yeah.
Like
that
for
one.
the majority of like
Wow.
the Jean Logan thing, I think
Speaking of
really
which,
came from the movie, and they just kind of adopted it in versus what was already established in the comics.
So two other characters I want to bring up. First, Senator Kelly. Was he a thing for the movie, or was he ever in the comics prior?
He is in the comics.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
and was he the same? Is he the same in the as he is in the movie? Is he that way in the
He's
comics
still
as well?
a dick.
He's still
Yeah,
dick,
he's-
anti-mutant,
so
and all that stuff.
He's been a dick. He's always been a dick. So
But then
his
Show with the
precipice-
restart.
he redeemed himself in the comics.
And he kind of
Yeah,
redeemed
but-
himself close to the end when he was turned into a mutant for like half like a couple
Like a
hours
day.
or so before he just
2
basically
hours.
just like
melted.
just
No.
melted.
So his big story arc in the comics is Days of Future Past. So it's Senator Kelly who Mystique and the Brotherhood of Mutants are trying to kill, and that's why Kitty Pryde comes back to the past from the future to stop them from killing him in order to set the timeline right. Like that's the original Days of Future Past storyline from the comics.
Okay.
Is Senator Kelly, and because then he's saved by mutants in the present time, he then changes his opinion on mutants, and that's why there's and because he
Then he becomes president and actually helps pass legislature as president
Yes.
of the U.S. to help mutants.
yeah. So
Really?
so like
So
yeah,
so he's not a big tool in the comics then.
oh no, he's
For a
still
while.
100% is a tool.
It was.
But like his whole thing, like there's this whole like B story throughout a lot of like those 80s comics of Sebastian Shaw like sort of like grooming him to approve Project Wide Awake, which was the Sentinel program, and even got one of the dancers to fall in love with him. And even though she did fall in love with him, she was eventually killed by a Sentinel and all of this stuff. Senator Kelly is still a tool, always will be a tool.
At least he had
Yeah.
more, but I get apparently he had more
R.I.P.
respect for
R.I.P.
And also,
So-
when he left, they keep introducing other human foils for them. So then
Yes.
it
Oh,
was, there's always someone.
And-
Creed,
Yeah.
Creed, yeah.
Another character, and I know I'm sure this is not everyone's favorite character. What did you think of this X-Men's version of Toad?
I liked it.
I actually liked it.
I liked
Yeah,
it.
he wasn't.
Wasn't
He wasn't
My-
The
like
my-
a-
weirdest thing I
My
noticed.
only issue is he really wasn't shown a whole lot. He probably had like 4 or 5 lines, and I know we briefly see him in like Days of Futures Past in Vietnam.
But it's a
And I
different
think he's in
version, yeah.
X3. I think a CGI version of him is like on like the cathedral. But I liked him a lot. I mean, listen, Singer was notorious for doing this with a lot of the BC characters. Just stick them in there. They have 1 or 2 lines, or like Colossus, is just in the background of like X3, even though he's like on the main team. But one thing I noticed was on his teeth when they were in the chapter.
Yeah.
They were-
He had
they-
really nude teeth, and I was like,
They
oh,
look
his-
like perfectly clean.
yeah,
And,
that's
and
exactly.
and
Well, that's how you find out. Like your dentist tells you have healthy teeth if your gums are nude. And I was like, wow, Ray Parker, some healthy dental hygiene there.
So, and was he British?
That
in the,
was
he British in the
the-
comics? Because he has a
those
British accent
were-
in the movie.
Were they prosthetic?
So his teeth in the movie are prosthetic. So in the comics, I believe he is supposed to be British, but they never like wrote him with like the super heavy British accent, because Mortimer Toynbee, I believe, is from the UK. I'd have to look it up, but I don't remember. But Ray Park is Australian, and so that's the accent
Although,
that you're
Amanda,
hearing.
when you just said, I have to look it up, you look so much like Madonna with the blonde hair. And look it up.
I mean, I have to look it up, but it's actually the first movie that Ray Park has been in where he's allowed to use his real voice.
Really?
So
That
Well
was-
Don't you people ever die?
He had
Don't
a
you
lot of
people
really
ever
good
die?
scenes too. Like every single scene that he was in, he was doing like crazy action stunts. So like,
My
Yeah, his
favorite part
presence.
is when he does that ballet routine taunting Storm.
Yeah.
Why did he do that? I don't understand why. And also, why did he eat a bird for no particular reason?
because he's I don't know.
Toads don't even eat birds. Like,
I imagine it was just to give the Magneto to say that Toad has a wicked tongue, Senator.
It literally it makes zero sense.
That or to gross out Senator Kelly.
You guys are like, oh, he was fine. He's terrible.
Really?
Terrible.
No.
I think he was a terrible adaptation. Toad did not have that weird tongue thing until the movie. I think that I prefer my 1990s Toad from Little Guy with Little Man Complex, where he's just angry and wants to hurt people. Like that's my Toad.
Now,
I prefer that version.
Now, what about what about that green stuff he pukes onto Jean's face?
That was also for the movie that then they made into the comics, and it's
really he didn't have like spit, like acid spit in the comics.
No,
I definitely don't
all
remember.
he could do was leap. Those were his only powers in the comics.
No prehensile tongue. No.
So that scene, though, I remember there were two scenes in the movie that I remember my theater's reactions. One was when Hugh Jackman went flying out the car window. Everyone in my theater laughed their ass off. Like
so aggressive.
Body.
Well, I mean, he wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
I know, what a great moral. But this is Miami in like the 2000s. Yeah, it was hysterical. And the second one was when Toad spat on Jean, and everyone went ew like that. It was just like the entire theater went ew.
I felt bad for Jean Grey's actor, because I can imagine having that green silicone whatever on your face was comfortable.
Yeah,
Famke's an actress. She did it.
Extreme control of the optic blast that Cyclops is able to like turn a dial.
Right.
Just take the goop off, but not injure her.
But you know what? It was so smart.
She's telekinetic. She can just go get off my face.
But you know what was so smart about that scene, Jason? This is a note I had. Was they showed them using their powers in significant ways that would play out through the course of the movie. Like when Rogue absorbs Wolverine's healing powers, that comes to play later on. When Cyclops is very precise, that will come to play later on when they're in the statue. So we can disagree, and I agree with you. I mean, like Amanda says, she's telekinetic, just whoop. But I appreciate from a cinematography level that they were trying to at least establish their powers and have every scene count, and it didn't feel like it would be left field if they used their powers a certain way. So I appreciate that.
And that point at the end in the head of the Statue of Liberty, they did do a complete like 5-way combination of attacks that solved the problem. Like, and that's what you do want from an X-Men movie, is like my
favorite thing. So kind of speaking on like the little subtlety things that people do with their powers. I remember the first time I saw the movie in the theater, and at the very end when the white globe goes across everyone and then like gets sucked back in, and Jean looks like weird, and she's like, something's off. And then the next movie, it's like, oh, by the way, my powers are out of control. I was like, this makes sense. I'm so glad that like they made like that happen for her.
So that white cloud kind of mutated her powers in a sense.
I mean, or it triggered them. I think like triggered them to go like to get wonky.
Well, because I mean, look what happens when she tries to because she slowly read minds. And look what happened when she put on the Cerebro. Like it really fucked with her emotionally.
But again, that's another scene where Jean is like, I can't use Cerebro because it'll kill me. And then she does it. And that's supposed to show her powers are growing. Now, in terms of what did the white glow did to her, there are two theories on this.
The white jizz cloud, you mean?
The white jizz clouds. One, it for mutants like Jean, it just unlocks their potentials, kind of like what Amanda and Michelle were saying, that it just unlocks them. The second theory is that it broke down the psychic barriers that Xavier had planted in her mind. And to what degree?
She felt like a weak character in this movie to me.
Like, on purpose though, right?
But I thought it was on purpose. But here's the thing. I don't think it was the psychic barriers, because in this movie, it says, mutation is evolution leaping forward. And of course, at the end of X2, Famke would say every so often, every couple of millenniums, evolution leaps forward. So I think the idea was that Jean was supposed to be the next evolution for Phoenix or for mutants. Yeah. And I think it was a Wizard article that ran saying that when Bryan Singer was still attached to X3, they were going to face off against evolution herself. And the idea was going to be that Jean would evolve to a cosmic character who's like, I'm leaving Earth, but I have my eye on you kind of
If
deal.
only.
If only that's what we would have gotten. But I can delete like 75% of my notes now that we talked about Jean. Now
you can say what you want about Bryan Singer, but there is this idea that as horrible of a human being that he is, if he was able to do all 3 movies in his vision and follow through, we might have had a really solid trilogy at the end of the day, because he directed the second one, and I think the second one built on the first one, and it was like the second movie is arguably the best movie in the entire franchise.
I can agree. I can second that.
Yeah, it's that and Days of Future Past to be. But if he got to finish the third one, I think that we would have looked back on it really differently about
but
it.
Didn't he do Dark Phoenix though?
No, that was Simon Kinberg.
Oh.
Who also messed up.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Dark Phoenix was Simon.
Yeah.
And because then he stepped in for Fantastic Four, the reboot, and everyone blames the Josh. I'm forgetting the director's name, but Simon did not help anything. But the thing is, Jason,
we don't talk about the Fantastic Four reboot.
But Jason, I'm going to say,
it was good.
I really feel that like, wait, I want to circle back on the Fantastic Four reboot really quickly, but I feel that like I can digest X3 as long as Days of Future Past is at the end of it, because you need that dystopian timeline, like the timeline split there, and it's fixed. So I was okay with that. I really was. Fantastic Four reboot. Oh my God, the times that Kate Mara like did her reshoots, her wig was different. Coming back to wigs. Like it's a Fantastic Four property. It's proven. Like Jessica Alba gave you a model. Be consistent with the wig. Sorry, that's it.
Yeah,
and I met Kate Mara at a gig, and I was like, "Oh my God, girl, I love you so much." But what was that wig in the Fantastic Four reboot?
I feel like Fantastic Four will be another topic. So I guess I'll work down the line here, starting with Jason. Altogether thoughts, since I think we're close to the end of this. I think we covered a good chunk of this. So X-Men 2000, was it worth making?
Was it worth making? Yes. I think I don't think we give that movie enough credit for being a trailblazer in the comic book movie world. Before we ever had an MCU, we had Fox X-Men. And although people like to kind of shit on it now, it was a trailblazer. It was the first of its kind. And it brought comic books to life and made a lot of geeks really happy to see like these characters come to life. It walked so that the MCU could run 100%. Looking back on it, some of it's funny, some of it's campy. Overall, I watched it 3 nights ago. I would say it's still a solid movie.
I agree. Demanda, X-Men 2000, was it worth making?
So I think it was worth making, just like Jason said. Like we all needed to start somewhere, and I think it did a good job in like giving us somewhere to grow from. And so now we have movies like Endgame and now Shang-Chi, which was so amazing. So like the fact that, you know, we can look back 20 years and go, that's where we started and this is where we are now. Thank you, you know, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Thank you, Fantastic Four. Thank you, X-Men, for starting us to where we are now. I mean, again, I'm a person that I love all of the X-Men movies. They're terrible, but I still love them. It's like the thing where I can talk shit about my family, but you don't say anything. You don't get that. So it's like I will talk shit about it all day, and I will read Halle Berry's Hair, and I will go off on it, but don't talk shit about one of my favorite movies of all time. It is one of those movies that it was a hallmark of, like, in 2000, in the late 90s too, because it was released in 2000. Like, it was the best that they could do with what they were given and the sort of parameters of what they were like, well, we can't do this and we can't do that because, like, that's too weird, or, you know, whatever. It's like we want something that's going to be marketable, but, you know, nerds are going to be into yada yada, you know, all of these things. It did its best. Was it the best thing that you know, in my opinion, that could have been done? No, there's lots of things that could have been improved, but it's still it's still a good movie. I still enjoy it. I still watch it. So
yeah. I mean, the box office almost made almost $300 million. at the box office.
which was
Yeah.
big for the early 2000s.
Absolutely.
And his budget, believe it or not, its budget was only 75 million.
Oh wow.
And
So it-
none of it was for hair.
No, they didn't do a Mortal Kombat Annihilation where L'Oreal helped them with stuff.
And it shows.
JT and Michelle, was X-Men 2000 worth making in your opinion?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I echo a lot of Demanda's sentiments where like it was good for what it was at the time. I think it definitely brought a lot of the characters to life, and I think they did that fairly well. Like Mystique, Wolverine, Cyclops, Professor X, like all of those characters were done very well, like very true to what the comics like. That's how I envisioned them. Like if I could see them in real life.
Yeah.
So I think it brought in people that didn't know anything about comics because I loved comics, and talking to people who didn't read them, they're like, oh, you know, like these X-Men characters, these guys are pretty cool. And I'm like, yeah, but the comics are better.
True. I mean, I will say I kind of did like, before I go to Paul here, I kind of did like how Magneto's outfit looked in the movies. They looked, they kind of, I don't know, gave it personality. It didn't look like the big red and purple outfit you see in the comics or TV show. I liked how he looked. Basically, it made him look classy.
Yeah, it was definitely worth making. I agree with everyone what they say. It kind of brought back a nostalgic feel for those who watched like the animated series and previously. It was just a lull with nothing going on with the X-Men. So it kind of brought a whole new feel back for everybody who didn't have that. So yeah, it was definitely worth making. And then like Jason was saying, it just set off a whole opening for all the other movies to come out.
It did. It definitely. I mean, before that, like the 90s and late 80s, we had like a lot of, and in some of the early 2000s, there was like some dark, gritty comic book movies like Punisher, Blade, the late 80s Punisher, and everything.
None of that with the comic book
Are we
feel.
not going to touch on the first Fantastic Four movie?
Honestly, I think like I said, I wouldn't mind doing more pre-MCU.
No. Listen, I'm not talking about the one with Jessica Alba. I'm
He's talking about the first one.
from
The one that
that came out in the
90s.
90s. Oh,
It never aired.
Because they were like, this is terrible. No one's
where he looked like, where he basically where the thing looked like a giant puppet.
Yes.
They only made that movie, to just keep the license, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Paul, same question. In your opinion, was the 2000 X-Men film worth making?
Yes, absolutely. I still think it's better than some comic book movies we have gotten today. I think it is a solid movie, and I don't know how to explain it to someone what it was like being in a theater and watching the montage of the school and seeing that discoverability and wonder as a viewer and being like, oh my God, that's Jubilee. Oh my God, that's Pyro. Is that Magma? And then like the characters in the background, you're like, is that Vanisher? Oh my God, that kid running with the silver hair, is that supposed to be Pietro? It was so much wonder. And then when he used Cerebro to find Rogue, just the way that entire montage played out, it still, as I was watching it today, it just really hit my emotions, especially with the score and the marketing push they did for that. Like I remember walking into True and seeing the entire corner full of X-Men figures, and we're talking like every row, like hundreds of figures, and just being like like, okay, Mom, we're gonna break the Amex today, and just like that, grabbing all of them. And it was just it reignited a lot of my spark for the X-Men. Maybe not for the comic book, but, I was reading X-Men Revolution, that era. I was reading Nate Gray, X-Men, and we were just coming off of Operation Zero Tolerance and Onslaught. So that kind of was like the end of my comic book stuff for a couple of years. I would eventually come back with new X-Men. But yeah, I think this movie, compared to some of and I'm even saying this about some MCU movies, I think this plot is solid. I think it aged well. I think the drama is good. I think we just need Storm to have more of something to do. That would never fly in today's world, but I thought it was perfect. I stand by it. And that's not the alcohol talking.
So to kind of piggyback a little bit what Paul was saying, like as an X-Men fan, so I've been reading X-Men comics since 1989. remember going into like my CVS, my Safeway, whatever, when I would go grocery shopping and seeing like the Entertainment Weeklies. I still have all of the copies of TV Guide where the X-Men were all of the covers because I got all of the different covers. Like it was just so awesome to me that like these characters that I've been reading about and loving for 10 years at that point, that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm finally gonna see them in a movie. And we'd it's from like Wizard, we've been dreaming about this and hoping that this would happen. And now with like, again, thank you Jurassic Park for introducing like these computer generated graphics that we can use all that stuff. And so it's like, oh my gosh, now we have the technology to be able to do these things. And it was just so like the first time I watched it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just so amazing. Like, I'm so happy that like this happened. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, but Hallie's wig's terrible. And I don't like Jean Grey's hair. Like, it's like the first time I was like, yes, this is so great. And the second I'm like, okay, I love this movie, but here are my notes.
In my opinion, yes.
Sorry, everyone, I have to head out. I'm so sorry. I'm a little.
That's okay. We're wrapping this up here. Thank you again, Jason, for coming on to express your opinion on this movie.
I'll see you all soon.
Bye.
Bye. So, in my opinion, yes, I think it was worth making. And to talk about how, at least when you guys mentioned Angela Bassett, I am glad that she did get her chance to be in a Marvel movie later down the road in Black Panther.
So I'm mad because again, she takes off her headdress and she's got silver white dreads, and I'm like, we could have had this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And she was like what? She was like what, in her mid-20s when this film came out, if I'm not mistaken.
I wouldn't say mid-20s.
Late 20s.
30s.
No, she was in her late 30s by the time X-Men came out.
Yeah, she looked good.
Because like Waiting to Exhale came out, and she was a middle-aged woman when that film came out.
I forgot where I said this.
Stella got her groove back.
Yeah,
around that time, and she was supposed to be a lady of a certain age. So she was already reaching 40 by the time that X-Men came out.
Yeah,
still looks really good.
I said this somewhere. I would love. She was 42 in 2000. Wow. She was born in 58.
Oh,
here's the thing about Angela Bassett. If she wants to play Storm, like a high school Storm, I will accept it. Angela Bassett can do anything. Like I would just, yes, that's how high schoolers look.
I'm kind of curious. Before I end this real quick, I'm kind of curious on how the MCU is going to take on X-Men, because with how the MCU is, they're definitely, they try to get as accurate as possible to a lot of the outfits, like Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Loki, Thor, so forth and so on. I'm like, will we finally get to see Wolverine's actual outfit that was kind of teased in Wolverine,
which is another terrible movie that we should never mention again. So like, as far as the MCU goes, I'm really trying to get away from like the speculation aspect of like MCU stuff, because I really feel like for me personally, with just being online and being a part of like the geeky community on those things, like WandaVision, like burned out. Like I'm burnt out. Like I do not want to hear your theories. I don't want to hear your, like, it's just like, you're going to be wrong, because they're going to want to tell the story that they want to tell. It's not going to be what we want to see, what we want to have happen. It's going to be whatever story fits the narrative that they want to have.
Basically, you're going to watch it and you're going to like it.
Like, yeah, like, listen, if they make it, we're going to watch it, and we're just going to have to deal with whatever story it is that they came up with. So like, if the mutants end up being like descendants of the Eternals, or somehow connected to the Celestials, because obviously like that Celestial thing is going to be a big part of this next phase. Like I'm just gonna, as I said 20 years ago when I sat in the theater watching the first X-Men movie, I'm just gonna watch this and I'm gonna take it for what it is, and I'm gonna enjoy it. And then the second time I watch it is when I'm gonna like
you'll give the notes,
have my notes. But it's like, I'm just going to enjoy this for what it is, and just be happy that like things that I enjoy, other people seem to enjoy and want to create. other stuff with it.
I see your point, Amanda, especially with WandaVision, but I credit WandaVision giving Power of X-Men a lot of gas in its engine, because I was putting on my clown makeup. I was on the Reddit. I was interacting with so many people. Like, I read this like poster who was supposed to be telling the truth that Wanda was going to read Ralph Boner's mind and see the Days of Future Past timeline and everything. I was like, oh, and yeah, I think to a degree, but I think there are people like us that we can all sit down and we can speculate, and it's all fun, and we will digest what they give us. And that's the aspect I do like about it. Like, we can theorize, then we watch it, but we're not like, oh fuck, I was wrong. No, they did this wrong. Like, no, we can digest what we saw. And that's some part. For something like WandaVision, I truly did enjoy that, coming together in a community. And also, we were in quarantine, though. I mean,
True.
like, we had nothing to do, because I don't think I speculated that much with Endgame, apart from a couple like things here and there. But
yeah, it gave it, like you said, it gave everyone something to do, like something to connect with. And there's so much history to pull from that. If they were to reboot the X-Men, like, they could start at numerous places. I mean, they could start right now with like Fox.
Or they can do what I remember, or Civil War, because I saw a Civil War comic where it showed the X-Men as well.
Yeah, but they were playing neutral on that, because you know, the
maybe
Genosha
like
babies were
Avengers
Birdie.
versus X-Men, maybe. I don't know.
I think they, we'll see where they go. But here, but that's the thing. You know what? Like, I trust Kevin Feige. I trust whatever they have, on the horizon. I think it's fun to speculate, but I think once it's out there, let's enjoy it. Let's see the story they're trying to tell.
Give it like
what Amanda was saying, and then give our notes, and then give our book report afterwards.
I feel like it will, if and when they decide to reboot this X-Men series, I give it like, once the DVD comes out and everything, where everyone can watch it, or you can watch it on Disney Plus or whatever, you're like, not even like probably like a day or a week later, you're going to see thousands or hundreds of YouTubers doing what we're doing right now with the first X-Men film.
Yeah,
that's why I said, I'm kind of glad I wanted to talk about pre MCU films, like from 10 years ago, 10, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, because
this is 20 years ago.
Well, I mean, but
let me put on my filter. Hang on. Let me turn off my. No, wait. Let me turn off my filter so you can see what's 20 years ago.
So, but you don't really see a whole lot of people talking about these old films that like when you guys were in. I can't believe I'm saying when you guys were like in high school or in college. I'm like I said, I'm young here, and
these very current and recent films that just came out.
Well, the 90s are back. Okay.
What the heck is wrong with you?
I was born in 93, and I remember watching a movie. I remember watching.
Oh my God, you're a baby.
I remember watching movies like Spawn, Blade.
Oh my God, Spawn! Like, talk about terrible CGI.
No, for the time.
I'm sorry that you were born in 93, though, because 92 was a phenomenal year. We got Sailor Moon.
Right.
I can't believe you weren't created then.
I think I'm going to end this recording so we can talk a little bit more if you guys like.
Right. I mean, you can keep recording and you like whatever.
I'm going to do a quick outro, but we can still talk if you guys like.
I still have like a good 10 minutes. I'm just going to get a drink. Hang on.
Well, I'm going to do a quick little outro, then we can continue to talk if you guys like.
Oh, okay.
Again, everyone, thank you for listening to this second episode of Was It Worth Making? I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'm again joined here by some amazing people, fellow nerds and comic book collectors. Again, as always, thank you for listening, and until next time, thank you for watching.